Well, good morning. My name's Kevin. Thank you so much, Pastor Cody, for leading us in that time of prayer. And man, how blessed. I hope you know this, but you're incredibly blessed to have a lead pastor like Cody and to have been blessed with Rick for the last 20 years. And this doesn't happen everywhere. And transitions don't happen as smoothly. And what's really nice is when you talk to those guys by themselves, they talk good about the other. That normally doesn't happen. And so I just say thank you guys for modeling such an incredible transition. And I just wanted you to know how blessed you are. We're going to be in 1 Corinthians 16, and if you want to be turning there. But I would like to today we're going to be talking about being on mission, making the very most of the time that you have on this earth. I just want to say thank you to your church for how you give to missions. And so thankful today out there in the foyer you have opportunities to look at different ways to engage in missions. But you've been doing this for years. And as you've supported things, you've planted churches all over North America, and you've sent missionaries all around the world, and I just want to say thank you. As you turn to 1 Corinthians, I would like to just show you my family real fast. I didn't bring them with me. There are too many. We're a big family. I have one wife, 6 kids, and 7 grandkids. They're all not listed in that picture because I only put the cute ones in there. But that's not true. We got to update the picture. But I want to tell you a little bit about my family real fast. We have 6 kids. My wife and I have been married for over 35 years, but then we adopted our youngest 3. And the first child we adopted was Libby. She's to the left of my wife. They found Libby in a shoebox outside of a police station when she was born. We got her when she was 1, and now she's 21 and in pharmacy school, and she's really an angel on this earth. I'm sure she's sinned. I've just never seen it. And then there's Michaelina on the far right. She's from Ethiopia. We got her when she's 3, and she's now 20, and she's in nursing school. And she's her spiritual gift is bossiness, and she's something else. And then there's JM on the far left. He's from the Philippines, and we got JM when he was 12, and he's now 23. And we're very grateful. It's real funny though when you have 6 kids, and you know, really we always say we have 6 kids from 4 different countries. When we walked into a restaurant, it was always funny watching people try to figure it out. And then now when I run into people, especially in the South, they'll say, you have 6 kids from 4 different countries? Well, bless your heart, you know? And I'm like, no, there's no need to bless my heart. I'm just very competitive. And what I mean is, like, look, we have 6 kids from 4 different countries. When we watch the Olympics, we win. All right, we do. And but I love the story when I'll tell you real fast, when we went to pick up JM in the Philippines, we take so many things for granted. I mean, we're spoiled people. You're sitting in padded pews, an environmentally controlled room, and man, this music, all these things you're so blessed with, but we're spoiled. And sometimes we just forget it's not like it is here everywhere else. We went to pick up JM, he was 12. He spoke English, the only one that we adopted that spoke English, and so they said, no, be very careful with him when you take him back to the hotel because he's never felt hot water before and he could hurt himself. And they didn't have hot water in the orphanage. They found JM wandering the streets when he was 5. He went in the orphanage for 7 years, and so we just want to be cautious. So we go back to the hotel room. You can imagine your first night in a hotel when you've been in an orphanage for 7 years, or maybe you can't imagine. It's pretty incredible. And he's bouncing on the beds, and finally it comes time for bath time, and I said, JM, come here, buddy, I want to show you something. And so we go in the bathroom, and I turn the water on lukewarm. And I take his hand, and I put his hand underneath that lukewarm water, and then I just gradually turn the water warmer and warmer and warmer until he begins to feel hot water for the very first time. He's like, Dad, it's wonderful. And I said, it is wonderful. You're going to love it. And I said, now, I'm going there, take off your clothes and hop in the shower. And he said, shower? What's a shower? Well, I wasn't thinking. You know, I didn't have a shower in the orphanage, so I had to explain a shower to him. You ever done that? That's not that easy. You know, it's like it's water from heaven. You're going to love it. It's so many things you just take for granted because we're so spoiled. I mean, like the first time we went out to eat, he started crying when he looked at the menu. He'd never had options. He just ate whatever they put in front of him. He was just overwhelmed. And I said, here, don't cry. I'll order for you. Just bring him some chicken fingers. He's like, no, I'm not eating chicken fingers. Yuck, no. And I said, they're not chicken fingers, all right? That's just what they call them. He said, why do they call them that? I was like, I don't know. Just dip them in barbecue sauce. It'll be fine. You can imagine the first time we had buffalo wings. Oh, my word. You know, I mean, it's complicated. But my point is this, often, I'll never forget, he went in and took the shower. He comes back out all shriveled up after 25, 30 minutes because he loved hot water. My wife and I talked, you know, how many 12-year-olds appreciate hot water. We just don't. We just don't. We're just spoiled folks. And it's hard to fully appreciate things when we're so used to certain things. And so what's your name, sir? Aaron, sorry to interrupt your sleep. Hey, Aaron. Hey, I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing, Aaron. Aaron, I picked you. You look like the cleanest guy in that section. All right? Tell me, last time you took a shower, be honest with me. Did you go like, yes, hot water? Did you do that? You didn't do that. See, that's what I thought. You see, folks, Aaron, he's what's wrong with America. No, I'm joking, sort of. But the thing is, we take things for granted. And do not take this church for granted or the fact that we need churches elsewhere. That's why at the North American Mission Board, we partner with churches like yours to plant churches. And because of that, we plant churches that plant churches that plant churches. Someone planted this church years and years ago. I want to show you something real quick that you had a part in that you may not even known about, all right? In D.C., Washington, D.C., the dots up here show where churches were being planted in 2010. Because of your faithful giving to missions, this is what it looks like in 2023. And now we're planting churches that you can do that if you like. It's you. Thank you for doing that. It's planting churches that plant churches that plant churches. That's what the book of Acts is all about, multiplication. And then you go to a place like L.A. L.A., this is what it looked like in 2010. But because of your faithful giving, this is what it looks like in 2023. Now, the challenging part of that is it's still not enough. 85% of the churches are located in the South. I often say it's the 85% of evangelical churches are in the SEC and the ACC. It's the other conferences that are going to hell, and we've got to reach them. All right, that's why I'm. Welcome to the SEC. I know you're coming. Some of you are coming. But what we want to do today is focus on that exact fact. How do you do that? Look, regardless of how old you are, you have a limited amount of time on this earth. How long do you have? You don't know. But what are you going to do with the time that you have left? You say, well, it all depends on how much time I have. Well, you don't know. It's like that country song years ago, I just want to live like I was dying. I want to make the most of the time I have to do the most with it. God placed you on this earth to do more than draw breath and draw salary. When all is said and done, it's not about where you work, it's about how missionally intentional you have been. You see, I really believe God views church success not based on its seating capacity, but on its sending capacity. And that's why I appreciate when Cody's talking about the foyer and outside. He's talking about missions and getting the students thinking outwardly and 316, all those things thinking outwardly. That's what the church is all about. Well, in this particular passage in 1 Corinthians 16, I'm going to read it. But before I do, I want to give you a little bit of context, and I'm going to have to go, I'll go really fast, okay? We're going to get to 1 Corinthians, but let's go back a little bit to Acts 13. In Acts 13, Paul and Barnabas are sent out by the church of Antioch on the first missionary journey. What I love about Acts 13 is the first few words when it says that the Antioch sent them off. They prayed over them and sent them off. They sent them away. Antioch sent their very best away. They were a sending church. They sent their very best away to do what? To plant churches. They finished that first missionary journey. I told you it would go fast. They come back to Antioch and they give a report. They took a little time off, in a sense, kind of recoup, and then they were going to go back out on a second missionary journey, and Paul went with Silas this time on a second missionary journey. As they went to these different cities, they encountered opposition at every turn, just like he did in the first missionary journey. One thing, if you study the Apostle Paul, there's not one thing he did not encounter, he did without countering opposition. Every time there was significant opposition. Second missionary journey, they were thrown in jail. They were ran out of town. And believe it or not, sometimes even a group would be so ticked at him from the previous town, they would follow him to the next town just to harass him there. I say that because you have to look at the Apostle Paul's life when it comes to missions and finding your place in missions, because sometimes when we decide what we're going to do with our time and how we're going to invest our resources, We often want to say, let's make a list of pros and cons. Which are we going to enjoy the most? Which are we going to get the most benefit from? Which is going to be the easiest? Which is going to be most pleasant? Which is going to pay the most? Which is going to... And we evaluate things on a criteria that Paul never used. A third missionary journey, my word, if you go back and if you go read Acts 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, you'll see that there were riots that were started. I mean, if you were to look at Paul's resume, you wouldn't call him to be your children's pastor, youth pastor, lead pastor, nothing. The guy had a bad resume. Bad if you look at it from our perspective sometimes when he's like, man, look, he encountered difficulty. What I love about Paul is difficulty meant, hey, perhaps it's worth spending my time there. That's why we get to the third missionary journey where he writes to Corinth. He's writing to the believers in Corinth, and he says this in 1 Corinthians 16. You ready? Here we go. I'm coming to visit you after I've been to Macedonia, for I'm planning to travel through Macedonia. Perhaps I will stay a while with you, possibly all winter, and then you can send me on my way to my next destination. This time, I don't want to make just a short visit and then go right on. I want to come and stay a while if the Lord will let me. In the meantime, I'll be staying here at Ephesus until the festival of Pentecost. Now watch this. Would you just read this part with me to make sure we're all on the same page? You ready? Here we go. There is a wide open door. Let's do it again. We're going to all just read with me. Kind of read with me. You ready? Here we go. There is a wide open door for a great work here, although many oppose me. Now I want you to focus on that. There is a wide open door for ministry here, comma, but many oppose me. And he could have said, and they always do. Now, what do you mean by that? There's a wide open door of opportunity here. Paul's saying, you know what? I'm going to stay here a little longer, a good bit longer. It ended up being 3 years. And what he's saying is, man, there are so many incredible things happening here. And what he didn't go back and tell every detail here, but what had happened is he was speaking the word sometimes 5 and 6 hours a day for 5 or 6 days a week. And he was doing it in the synagogue until he got kicked out of the synagogue. There were some more people opposing him. He had to rent a hall to do it. But he kept doing it. And out of those Bible studies, out of preaching the word to them, the church at Colossus, Pergamum, I could go on and listen. Paul actually helped plant about 15 to 20 churches in his lifetime. All right, 15 to 20. But what he was saying is, my word, God is doing so many incredible things right here. I'm going to stay here in Ephesus and ride out this wave. This is too good to be true. I mean, this amazing things are happening here. He, at the same time, could have said, could you please help me find somewhere else to go? Too many people are opposing me. This is hard. You know, he could have started whining and looking at all the opposition. He didn't. What I so appreciate, he says, there is a wide open door of opportunity, comma, but many oppose me. And many can actually be defined as a majority. I say all that to help you discern where it is that God actually wants you to engage. Look, on the missional scale, I don't know how you do that, if it's a 1 to 5 scale, 5 being Apostle Paul, 1 being someone who does nothing, perhaps. But if you're a 1, I want you to be a 2. If 2, I pray you'll be a 3. Just to take the next step in that missional journey to make the very most of your life. I'm not saying overnight be this or that, but I'm not saying you have to move. I'm not saying any of those things. You have to be a missionary to another country. I'm talking about thinking about who's across the street. Do you even know your neighbor? When's the last time you led someone to Christ, or when's the last time you tried? Just to be missional, just to paddle shot and get off of 0 and make something happen there. I want to remind you of what Paul said. There are many doors of wide open opportunity. I guarantee you, if you'd prayerfully walk through your day tomorrow and say, God, I don't know a whole lot. I have to do this all the time. I'm dumber than most people would predict. I need you to make it really clear. Like, I know there's open doors out there, but I want you to make it so obvious to me I can't miss it. My point is, He will open doors of opportunity for you. Each one of you have them. He put you here to do more than draw a breath and draw a salary. He's in the business of opening doors of opportunity. We just got to see them when it happens and be willing to walk through them and not think they're below us. Well, that's not that big a deal. I'll wait for a bigger opportunity. Well, you go through the door he's opened, and once you do that, there's a real good chance he's going to open some more doors. But I also just want to encourage you, be very careful how you make decisions and on what to give and how to go and how to engage based on what's most convenient. Sometimes people, when I pastor, they say, well, I just don't feel qualified. That was kind of like a spiritual way of saying no. But you know what? God often calls us to do things greater than our ability to accomplish. You say, do what? He often calls us to do things greater than our ability to accomplish. And you know why? Because when he accomplishes that through you, something that you couldn't do on your own, he's the one that gets the glory and the credit for it, not you. We typically like to only attempt things we know we can accomplish, because that way people are like, hey, you really gifted. Huh, you think so? Well, thank you. I'll praise the Lord. We throw that in there. What I'm talking about is for you to go through a door where God does something so unique through you or your family in such a way that it can only be explained as that God had to have done that. Paul says, I'm going to stay here and ride this out. This is something special because there's doors of wide open opportunity, but many oppose me. How thick is your spiritual skin? Sometimes opposition doesn't mean things aren't going well. I get a kick when people give their appraisal. How's he doing? Oh, I don't know. He's having some challenges. Paul did everywhere he went. And Paul looked at opposition as a reason to stay, not an excuse to leave. Just beg you to be careful on how you weigh certain things. But look, even when you're weighing them the right way, and when you go through the right doors and God blesses, but there is opposition, it doesn't mean it doesn't wear on you. It does. And it weared on the Apostle Paul. We know that because in Acts 18, Paul had gone through some good things, battles, but he was just down. You ever had that feeling where you just, man, I'm just worn out, I'm tired, I feel effective, but I'm just worn out. Paul went through that. So much so, it says in Acts 18, verse 8 and 9, or 9 and 10, it says that the Lord came to Paul in a dream, a vision, and said this to him. Paul, stop being afraid. And the Greek use of the word there means Paul was afraid, and he's telling him, stop it. You're afraid, Paul. Stop being afraid. And the second thing he told him is, keep on speaking and don't be silent. Why would he tell him that? Evidently because Paul was thinking about quitting. You keep on speaking, you keep on doing what you're doing, and you do not shut up. You do not become silent. You keep on doing what you're doing. Don't quit. So the two things he's saying is, do not be afraid, stop being afraid, do not be afraid, and do not quit. Do not be afraid and do not quit. Man, we could say that and sound like a halftime pep rally. All right, don't be afraid, don't quit. Now go out there. Now, you get the idea, it's like a pep rally. It would be that unless it had not been followed by, Paul tells us in the very next part why you do not have to be afraid and that we should never quit. He tells us why. Because he says, for Paul, I am with you. I'm with you. I got this. Paul, don't be afraid. Stop being afraid because I got this. I'm with you. You do not quit because I'm with you. You get bad news from a doctor, you lose a job, a financial issue, you fill in the blank. Stop being afraid. You do not quit, for I am with you. And I love that. Don't underestimate those words, for I am with you. Because he says, I hold yesterday, today, and forever. I'm the same yesterday, today, and forever. I got this. I didn't tell you, I don't think a while ago, that I love how in Oklahoma, you guys love football so much. I mean, it's on, my word, the channels at the hotel, they have high school games on it. It's incredible. You guys love football. Now, I think that's cute, all right? I'm from Kentucky. We don't really care for football. We don't mind it. It's kind of like chips and dip, all right? It's an appetizer because we know basketball just started, all right? That's the main course. In Kentucky, that's how life is. We like to win, but if we lose, it's not the end of the world, all right? And so, in Kentucky, when I was growing up, if a tornado was coming to Kentucky, they had everyone run to the football field because it was the safest place. There were very few touchdowns there, all right? It was very safe. So, dad joke. Basketball was the thing. I got married to my wife back in December 28th, 1985. She had one sister. Her dad hunted. He killed things and brought them home. He wasn't really competitive. So when we got married, she wasn't used to my competitiveness. And so I'll never forget it. And if she here today, she'd tell you that's exactly right. We got married December 28th. Our first major marital challenge was in March. It's still celebrated today in something called March Madness. All right? Now, I would say it was an argument, but two people have to talk in an argument. It was just a challenge, all right? I was watching a ball game. She was watching it with me, a tournament game. Kentucky was playing. And she said, oh, hey, I wanted to talk to you about this. And I just simply said, hey, could it wait till after the game? And then she responded, so the game's more important than me? And I made a marital mistake. I waited too long to answer. I was just thinking it through. I know not to do that now. And she said, well, and another thing, you're too competitive. Well, where did that come from? She goes, well, you yell at the TV. You yell at the referees. I said, I don't. I'm just trying to help them do better. She said, you're just out of control. Well, I realized after a few weeks that she was serious about this. It wasn't just accident. I mean, she was really serious about it. And so I said, look, I understand this bothers you. You mean more to me than that. I'm going to make some changes here. I'm not going to watch the game. I'll not watch it live. She goes, no, you don't have to. No. I am not going to. And I'm telling you, from that day, I don't watch them live. I don't watch Kentucky basketball games live. He said, what do? You tape it and watch it later without knowing the score? No. That's not how I do it at all. I tape it. I'll find out what the score is. And if we won, I'll watch it. And if we lose, I delete it. So I only watch games we win. You say, you need counseling. I perhaps do, all right? But it will change your life. I'm telling you. Listen, here's how it got me to. There's a game we played Michigan a few years ago in a tournament, and I've watched this game 30 times. I love it. Now, the reason I love it is because we were behind by 10 points at halftime. 10 points. And what I love about it is the announcers, they're experts. They were negative about, it's insurmountable, they'll never come back. All this negativity. Now, why do I love it? They were so negative, and the whole time they were so negative, am I concerned? Not on your life. I'm making myself another peanut butter and jelly because I know we win. No matter how negative they are, we win. It changes everything. Second half. 8 minutes to go, we're 6 points down. Am I nervous? Ooh, no. 1 minute to go, we're down 2 points and they have the ball. My heart beating fast? Not at all. I'm calm. I'm petting my dog. Watching the game with my wife. Everything's fine. Because why? I know what happens. 40 seconds to go. We steal the ball. We come down. We pass around. We're going to get a shot off. I bet we do. They throw it to a guy named Aaron Harrison. 3, 2, 1. He shoots it. Does it go in? It does every time. And we win. I just get chills telling the story. We win every time. Now, I love that because I can watch that game And there's no stress because I know how it ends. That's exactly what Paul is being told by the Lord here. Paul, you're afraid. Why are you being afraid? Stop being afraid. I told you I would never leave you or forsake you. I told you to cast all your anxiety upon me because I care for you. Don't be afraid. And quit. What do you think about quitting? Hey. I know you go through this, but you do not quit. It's only halftime. You feel like you're 10 points behind. No. Game's not over, Paul. He went on to say in that verse in Acts 18, he says, there are many people in this city you know not of. And what he was saying is, Paul, I'm going to use you to reach people in this city. You don't even know their names yet. What do you say to you? It's like, you know what? You think you know it all? There are some seats empty by you, and I am going to use you to reach people you haven't even met yet. You may not even met your best friends. Oh, yes, I have. You don't know that. You have no idea all that God wants to do for you. That's why he says he can do more, exceedingly abundantly more than you could ever ask or think. Don't limit God to what you think he can do. All those songs we just sang beautifully, we believe that stuff. God has called you to do more than draw breath and draw a salary. Whatever you're going through, you can have a fresh start because, look, he's told us, don't be afraid. Do not quit. He's with us and he'll never leave us or forsake us. I want us to bow our heads. So we think about missions and being focused on mission, doing exactly what God wants us to do. God has a purpose for you. If you're here today and you do not know Jesus in a personal way, I want you to know we have a hospitality room in the back. There are ministers in there, and people will love to share with you how to take the next step in knowing Jesus in a personal way. We simply want you to take your next step. You say, man, I want to make the right decisions. I want to do the right things. I want to go through the right doors. The altar's always open to pray here if you'd like to do that. But you too, there's people in the hospitality room who would love to walk with you through that. We simply want you to make the very most of the time God's given you. Father, thank you for how you love us, you care for us, you know everything about us, and you use us anyway. We're not perfect people. You know that. We're flawed. But Father, thank you that you call us to do things above and beyond our ability to accomplish for your glory. I pray every person here, absolutely every person here, will make a commitment to take the next step on that missional journey. In Jesus' name.